We're back for the final hour, at least today, 365 Sports at NFL Media Headquarters at Radio Row in Las Vegas. DJ Dozier, Dr. Michael Weatherly, here at Radio Row. We appreciate both of you for being here. DJ, how you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Doctor, doing well?
Doing well, yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, so one of the things about what you're talking about, collegiate athlete and serial entrepreneur, being successful after a career?
Yes, sir. That's what. So we actually have a show called Decide to Dominate based off DJ's book. We're on Caffeine TV, No Filter Network. It's all about exactly what you just said.
So when did you know that was important?
Well, what's interesting is my family has that entrepreneurial spirit. And so ever since I was a kid, I didn't know what it was, but I loved being creative, and eventually I realized that, you could be in business with a product or service. So by the time I got to college, what most people don't know is before we played in our first national championship, my junior year, I actually came up with a T-shirt to sell to all of my players.
Okay.
Or I'm sorry, teammates. And didn't make any money, but I tried.
But it was the thought that counts, right?
Absolutely. You got to start somewhere.
I saw a couple of kids on a golf course the other day, and I can't remember. Now I'll ask you, when was the last time you saw a couple of kids out in front of their house or on the golf course with a house selling lemonade?
So I'm going to take that one and say my kids do that on a weekly basis. I got two little hustlers.
That's all. No, that's exactly. Hustlers. I was like blown away by that. I was excited to see that. They gave them $5 for a couple of glasses of lemonade.
Yeah, I have a 14 and a 12-year-old, and they both have their own businesses. So
what's the price point?
Lemonade's expensive these days, guys. I don't know. I'm gonna say I think they charge like $1.50, $2. But here's the thing. Nowadays, it's a different world. Cars show up, they're like, I don't have cash. They're like, that's okay, we take Cash App, Zelle, Venmo, here, just scan this, And then they're like, oh, you're cute, here's $20. I'm like, they'll come out like $100 sometimes.
PayPal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, PayPal, whatever.
Well, I'm not trying to give Chick-fil-A a spot, but my kids actually said, look,
Chick-fil-A at all.
Dad, we want to do a stand, but we want to work through Chick-fil-A. I said, well, I don't know if you can do that. So I made a phone call. They said, yeah, we'll sell it to them.
Really?
Yeah. So, double that price, and then that's why it's so expensive.
My good. You were a part of a national championship, Heisman Trophy candidate, and obviously had a tremendous career at Penn State and your time in the NFL with Minnesota and Detroit. What was that like back then at Penn State? It changed. College football's changed so dramatically.
Yeah, no, big change, but old school. I watched Joe Paterno throw a senior captain of our football team off the plane because he was late. And I don't know if that would happen today, but it certainly happened in that moment. And
because the players now have so much more power.
A lot of leverage.
Not that you can't still do that.
Yeah, that dude be in the transfer portal like a week later, probably.
Oh, my God. By the time he hit the tarmac, yeah. Wow. And Penn State has won an X amount of national titles, and yet probably had like 3 or 4 or 5 others they should have won based on the polls and stuff like that over the years. And he's a Florida State fan, mad about this past year, but Penn State had undefeated teams that didn't win the national title.
Was it because of your independent status at the time that they kind of looked you over?
Well, I think maybe it was the black shoes. I don't know. There's no doubt that back then that Penn State was an underdog, even when they were undefeated.
Right.
And that's, it wasn't because Paterno, as we used to call it, won ugly, right? It was all defense. The offense sputtered, he would put all the most athletic athletes on the defense to make sure that his team could keep the other team from scoring or at least scoring high.
It was the black shoes too, right?
It was. I think it was the black shoes. They thought I was slow coming out.
I don't think they thought that.
Well, no. What is your background in being an entrepreneur?
So I got a crazy background. I started as a second, third grade teacher. I played baseball in high school and football, and then I played baseball in college. But I was an entrepreneur from the second I got out of college. I had a bar and restaurant. I was in healthcare. I was a teacher, and then we started this company that was an integrator between the Defense Department, the government, and companies that have innovative technologies and product services. I always say, the reason that business grew is because we tithe, so we give 10% of our revenue back to the community. And then during COVID, my wife and I packed up the kids, moved to the mountains, and then just started all these businesses. We got into the wine business. We started the sports business. We've got a nonprofit that works with veterans to grow food organically, give back to those in need. And I don't know, like I said, this is a lot of hustle and hard work at the end of the day, but got a crazy background.
So when it comes to athletes, college athletes especially, knowing what the next thing is, because it can't all be like DJ and go to the NFL.
Yep.
And even the NFL needs to know this too, but you need to know it really before you go. And I don't think that really happens all that much because, they're not taught, now they may be because of NIL, but balancing a checkbook or having a budget or what to do, like when the team doesn't do everything for you, like all those things are not really a deal. So how do you reach out and bridge that gap with them?
Yeah, so that's great. That's something we talk about on our show every Tuesday because it's not just about like sports. We talk about we always say athletes in the office. So the premise of DJ's book is like, what comes next? What happens after sports? And so we're doing our best to educate. We're working with a lot of youth, so we get asked to come talk a lot. Some of the FCA organizations and Boys Club. We just had a meeting with them last week. Just trying to. Hey, I was going to play Major League Baseball too, and then I blew my knee out. You always got to have a backup plan, right? And so I think that's just important to stress. I always say, the college players are 1% from high school kids, and then to get into minor leagues, you're 1% of that. To get into major leagues, you're 1% of that. So do that math. That's not a very good percentage. You got to have a backup plan.
DJ, there are very few that could play baseball and football. Dion, Bo Jackson, we've named some of them. Some players have gone on to play baseball, then did not work out. It's hard. And then they ended up playing college football at an older age. You made the decision to play college football over baseball. Do you regret that at all?
I don't regret it because the plan was I was going to go to Penn State to play both. The only thing Paterno asked is that I not play in my first year. So I would spend a full year playing football. And then after my sophomore year of football, then I could play baseball. Well, what happened was I ended up having to get my left knee scoped. And so I wanted to focus on rehabbing. It wasn't a bad injury or bad surgery, but so as a result, I spent the next year, and then after my junior year of football, I decided I'd get ready for my senior year of football because the NFL was right there. So the plan was to play both. It didn't work out that way, but obviously the dream came true when I had a chance to go back, even though it was far-fetched an idea, and my agent thought I was nuts. Even my dad said, "Hey, are you sure?" Because at that point it had been 6 years since I had swung and hit a baseball. And for me, every day after that I participated in baseball was an absolute gift, and that's the way I look at it.
I think you even enjoyed it even more because,
without a doubt. It was. I remember before the first game. I walked onto the field before anyone else was there, and I couldn't believe it. And so from that day until my last, really, I enjoyed every minute of it.
That was with the Mets, right?
That was with the Mets.
And then ended up with the Mets that you're there a little bit. You weren't there, but you got a chance to taste it.
Yes, I did. And what's interesting is one of our hitting instructors with the Mets. He would teach us and tell us, look, in the big leagues, you can't hit a curveball. Now, most of us that grew up, we hit everything.
Right.
Hit a curveball, slider, may not a changeup, but so I didn't understand what he meant until my first at bat against Cincinnati. I get in the box, second pitch.
Curve.
Yeah, it dropped out of the sky, and the umpire said strike. That was what was shocking. I said, wait a second. How can that be a strike? Didn't it come from up there? Yep. But, I experienced it. It was a great experience. Wouldn't change a thing other than playing a little longer. But had a lot of fun.
All right, so two sport athletes, Bo, Dion, Brian Jordan, DJ Dozier.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome thing.
One of only 27 ever to play both professionally. Yeah. That's, again, 1% of the 1%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, and I've played against or met each one of those guys.
Yeah.
And had some great conversations, and to be in that group is it's bragging rights to a certain degree.
Oh, for sure.
We've had guests on, including Nate Boyer, who's a Green Beret, and Jake Glazer. And my last question is trying to transition athletes from what they did as a career
MVP.
into what is real life for the next several years. Yeah.
Yeah, MVP. We know those guys. They're awesome.
I saw what you have with Bet First.
Yep.
And how important is that? Because that is I don't care who you are, it's a tough transition to go from protocol, regimen as an athlete or military into real life.
Without a doubt. So for me, everyone's going to have a different experience. But for me, it was learned because I'm highly competitive. So I learned how I could get better grades. And as soon as I saw it as a competitive atmosphere, everything changed for me.
Wow.
And I think it's the same in businthis.
Thank you, man. Good luck.
Yeah, no,
Appreciate
awesome.
it. Thanks for your time.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Very much. This is 365 Sports, back from Vegas in just a moment.